Aria or Maureen. Anyway, okay, so it's 2 o'clock. And in the absence of Paul Coates or his successor, which I assume has not yet happened, is that everybody's understanding?
Right.
That's correct.
Okay. With your indulgence, I'll go ahead and run the meeting. And I think I know everybody who's here, but I'll call the roll call just in case. So there's no Carroll County Highway Engineer. Aaron Lyons.
Present.
Gary Snively. Kevin Schaefer. Debbie Lowe. Tobe Lesenby.
Present.
Brooke McCain. Paul Redmond. Jill Hammond. Cameron Yates.
Present.
Sally Fahey is present, and Marcia Blansett.
Present.
Good, so we have 5, which gives us a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is 3 sets of minutes going back to last February 11th, then August 11th, and November 10th. And all those minutes were part of your packet. So I would, we can take them all together if you'd like, or separately. If somebody wants to make a motion for approval, I would entertain that.
I move that we accept February 11th, 2020 minutes and August, what was that date again? August 11th, 2020 virtual meeting minutes as presented for approval.
Are you interested in doing November 10th as
Oh,
well?
I'm sorry, yes. Let's just loop them all in. So yes, November meeting minutes as well, Sally.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I think I missed a couple of those meetings, Sally.
Okay. Well, then I will second it since I'm a member. So we have a motion and a second to approve Technical Transportation Committee minutes for February 11, 2020, August 11, 2020, and November 10th, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Next item on the agenda are 3 items regarding traffic counts, and I believe Ari is going to make those presentations.
Yep. So the first item here is traffic counts funding. So this is kind of just a recap, really. So last year with the pandemic, last calendar year, we ended up splitting our counts into 2 sections. We did 19 counts, and then we did 46 counts. And the reason we did that was because of the disrupted traffic patterns and volumes from the pandemic. Our goal last year was to capture as much CAFO data as we could. So the 19 counts that we took initially were the ones in town, and the 46 were the ones that we'd positioned around CAFOs. So we tried to push those as far back to the end of the year as we could to try and get some regular traffic patterns, which pushed them into the next fiscal year during that calendar year of 2020. So that ended up changing how much we spent in each fiscal year. And as a result of that, this year, we technically have money for 19 counts in this fiscal year of this calendar year right now. But hopefully NDOT will allow us to recover the money that we didn't get all spent in the previous fiscal year, so we can do the full 65 counts normally. So that's that. Let's see, next item is the calendar year 20 count results. And this is a big spreadsheet here showing the precise truck data, as well as the regular full average daily traffic. So on the spreadsheet, you can see we have various columns. All the important ones are kind of to the right here. So after map number, we have all truck ADT, so all truck average daily traffic, all truck AADT, so annual average daily traffic. That's with the seasonal adjustment factor corrected in. SU truck is single unit truck, so that's trucks that only pull one trailer. MU is multi-unit, so trucks with multiple trailers, very uncommon, but we track them. And unclassified are for vehicles that were unable to be automatically classified as trucks, bikes, single unit, multi-unit, anything. So, and then I also added the percentage of vehicles that were trucks as the final column there. So the volumes here, as we expected, are low compared to previous years. There's not much we can do about that, but as I mentioned a couple of times previously, we still have value in these results because we do have percentages. You know, we can compare the percentage of trucks to other vehicles, and we can see, you know, where proportionally the values have changed or not changed compared to previous years. I guess it's noteworthy to see that there are some results that are incredibly high for the truck percentage. Some of these 83%, 65%, 60% of vehicles being trucks at some of these locations, I think definitely captures our goal of getting some truck traffic around CAFO locations. So we can see that these roads are almost exclusively used by heavy trucks, which is good to know for repairing and planning. So I think we still got some good data here. Other note, I guess I'll just say the top of the spreadsheet are mostly the CAFO ones, and the bottom are the previous 19 ones in town. So does anyone have any questions about any of this? It's mostly just a bunch of numbers. So it's hard to go through this in too much detail. It's probably easier for you to look at for if there's any in particular that you're curious about.
I just wanted to comment that I think this is a very good, very detailed report. I think you did a great job on it.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add that on the city's behalf, we're actually thankful for this. We've got some truck issues running up and down Washington Street that I think we're going to address at some point, and these truck numbers actually help make a determination on what needs to be done, or we can at least prove the amount of truck traffic we have on a particular road. So thank you for doing this.
Certainly. Okay. So I guess the next thing that we can look at is the next item, the calendar year 2021 proposed count stations. So there are two attachments here. The first one is the complete overall 65 stations, which would be the amount if we can get all of our funding in this calendar year and 2021 fiscal year. So fingers crossed, these are the stations that will have the budget to do. I have broken them up into different icons here of new stations, stations we haven't checked in a while, removed stations, and stations with no change. What those mean are how these relate to our 3-year cycle. Whenever we do traffic counts, we do them on a 3-year cycle, so we'll take the same stations every 3 years. We do change the stations a little bit each time, you know, just depending on, you know, if we're looking at CAFOs or, you know, if we don't think there's any further value in a station we've looked at several times and the volumes don't change, or they're, incredibly low. So we do change the stations around each time a little bit. So this time we removed a whole bunch of low volume stations, 15 of them, and have added a couple of stations we haven't checked in more than 3 years. Most of these that we haven't checked, I think it's been 5 or 6 years since we've looked at them. And they were previously reasonably high volume. So it's probably worth looking at them again to see if anything has changed. And the other stations, these are all stations we've taken before in our 3-year cycles. They're pretty standard. We'll get some good comparison over the 3-year difference. So these proposed stations are not set in stone. These are just what we've initially proposed here. Ordinarily, we would have Paul Coates give us some information and suggestions. Clearly that can't happen. But we definitely welcome all of your input and suggestions also. If there's any stations you think we should look at or that you think don't hold a lot of value, then we can definitely, change the locations around if you have any suggestions before we implement them for our counts this calendar year. Does anyone have any comments right away? I can also take your comments over email after the meeting too, if that's easier.
I would like to mention for comments via email, we are probably going to need those by some point in early March, because we do need to get this finalized so that our traffic counting contractor can have some time to go out and take the counts before the end of the fiscal year in June.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it'll probably take around 6 or so weeks to get all these counts done. So we definitely need to get that sorted.
Does anybody have an update on the hiring process to replace Paul?
The only thing I can comment on, maybe Cameron can join in as well. At the most recent commissioners meeting, as I recall, I don't know if you're aware, apparently they had an individual appointed, and then at the last minute he withdrew. And so I hate to be cliche, but I think they're back to the drawing board and trying to get someone established. So I know that's not really an update, but I haven't heard if anyone else. I think there were other applicants, but I don't know if they're looking at other applicants at this point.
Okay.
They're actually doing some interviews this afternoon for us, Sally.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to get it filled as quickly as possible.
Good. Well, as soon as anybody knows, if you could let us know, and I could then make an official contact maybe with Commissioner's office and introduce ourselves to the new highway engineer, and then talk about responsibilities with the transportation committee, and also maybe engage him or her on the traffic count maps and what we're doing and what we need to try to get done this year.
I sure will.
Thank you. That's helpful. Anything else, Aria?
I think that's it for the traffic counts. As I mentioned before, we do have a second map that has just 19 counts in case we don't get the full funding amount.
Yes.
These are skewed towards the higher volume and a couple of the new count locations for this version. But hopefully we won't have to resort to this. That's all.
So oh, okay, now I counted 19. So
Yeah, I
are
think the
those,
legend should say how many of each there are as well. There should be
yes,
numbers.
okay, it's a little hard at this scale for me to tell the difference between the green and the blue. Green and blue crosses, but I see the difference now. Thank you.
Oh, all the crosses should be the same color.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought
all
the
the
heaven
crosses
checks
should be
were
green.
green and the news stations were blue.
Yeah, I was going to do 4 icons, but it was going to get, that was too many for something so simple. So anyway.
Okay. All right, any other comment on the coming year's traffic counts?
I have nothing.
Okay,
I got a quick question, Sally.
sure.
So just kind of bringing it through here, how often does, or did Paul have us do a count on the designated truck route that goes through 700 and Adam Street and all that? Is that on the 3-year cycle, or did we do that? I was told that we did it in between cycles for a various reason, but I wouldn't know if there's any truth to that or not.
Which location specifically, Cameron?
So it's 700. It's called Carrollton Road. I think it's, Aaron, am I correct? It starts at Washington, comes down to Adams, and then goes to 700, and it eventually goes back out to the heartland.
Yes.
Tim or Aria, do you remember, I think we have had counts on 700 West and then headed east to hook up with, I don't know, is that Burroughs or is that Rockfield?
Oh, I think it comes out by Rockfield, doesn't it, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it goes out to Rockfield.
Certainly.
They do have the counts on Adams Street, but it's only between Union and Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
typically these are on a 3-year cycle, but Tim can probably give specifics.
Yes, so we have gotten counts on those roads in the past. We even had one fiscal year where we made an effort to deliberately choose several locations along that truck traffic route to kind of see what traffic was like. So we do have some data for that. It is not necessarily, or it wasn't necessarily taken in the last fiscal year, so it wasn't what Aria showed you, but we do have some within the past few years. So that, I think that's still good enough that it would apply to that issue. If that's something you're interested in getting more specifics about that data, why don't you go ahead and maybe just send us an email and we can hunt back through our old files and pull out some data for you and start kind of a correspondence about that. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, in those years, typically we would have reported traffic counts, but we wouldn't have done the truck analysis part of that. So we can, from that information, go back and do that.
Okay. That's all I
Okay,
have.
then I think we're ready to move on to other business. So the first item is NDOT 18-month letting list.
Yeah, so I'll be covering this one. So really, as you can see from the list that I'm displaying on the screen now that was also sent out in your packet, there have not been too many significant changes. However, we are expecting a project to be let tomorrow. Well, as far as I know, it's this first one along US 421. So it's the first 4 items, which are actually a few different DES numbers, but as you can see, they're all under the same contract numbers. They're all bundled together. And those are all on US 421. There are various items dealing with some of the bridges there. So we won't have bid letting results for that yet because it's not till tomorrow. But at our next meeting, we hopefully should have bid letting results for that project as well as for the project on State Road 218, which is expected to let on March 10th, which is another project that is based on a bridge there of an arch reconstruction or repair project. So those are kind of the ones that are in the first half of 2021. After that, there's kind of a time gap before anything else is planned to be let. We're not looking at anything until December 8th of this year will be the next one that's on the letting list. So does anyone have any questions, or maybe Marcia, if you want to give any comments from INDOT's perspective on this?
I don't have any comments. Jim has something, he's on the state, he's a project manager on the state side, so, but I don't have anything.
Yes, hi, this is Tim Papa. So I am a project manager. I was with INDOT back in 2019. I'm actually back with INDOT now. Jackie Hockaday is normally the PM that is in these meetings. She actually had another meeting today, so I told her I would step in, kind of introduce myself back to you guys. I will actually start taking over a lot of the local type projects down in this area now that I'm back. This particular project that you had mentioned, yes, it is on the letting for tomorrow. That was one of the projects that I was given coming back. So if there's somebody I can keep posted, like if we get any results on that one, I can let somebody know, like if we hear, how if it was awarded in that. But moving forward, Jackie and I both should be able to attend these meetings. Like I said, hopefully I'll get to get reacquainted with everybody here in the next few weeks.
Good to have you back, Timothy.
Thank you.
Could somebody maybe explain the work that's going on the bridge over the Wabash there? What kind of work's that going to entail? Is there going to be lane restrictions, closures? What's actually maintenance and repair?
So what I have on this one is it's a bridge thin deck overlay, which is typically like they'll typically do a one lane at a time type thing. I'm not completely familiar with this project because, like I said, I just got it back. So I'm not sure exactly, what does all entail, but typically on a bridge thin deck overlay, they'll do a lane restriction while they're working on one side or the other. I don't believe this one has a lot of significant work to it. But it is scheduled for a thin deck overlay.
Thank you.
Oh.
Tim or Marcia, just a quick follow-up question, and it's not actually on this letting list, but a couple other projects in Carroll County that I think had been discussed, and I guess I'm looking to see whether or not there's any kind of an update. Number one is State Road 75, the bridge over the Wildcat Creek in the Cutler area in the south central portion of Carroll County. I know there was a one-time possibility of that bridge either being replaced or rehabilitation related to that bridge. And then my second question relates to, at one time when we made adjustments with the Hoosier Heartland intersection with our County Road 800 West to the southwest of Delphi here. Obviously, that intersection's been vastly improved, and knock on wood, we've not had the crashes at that intersection that we had in the past. But at one time, it was my belief that INDOT was looking to possibly put up barricades to prevent individuals to continue to try and cross through that intersection, continuing either northbound or southbound on 800 West. Believe it or not, we've had a couple of individuals go through that intersection to continue rather than utilizing the J-turn. They've cut through the intersection, through the grass, and continued their pattern. Fortunately, a couple of my deputies have stopped them and cited them for those violations. But I did know at one time, I thought I was told that NDOT was looking to potentially put up barriers or barricades at that intersection to possibly prevent that type of action. So those are a couple items I had on my questions.
We can look into those. I don't have anything on my phone, those or not, but I don't have anything on that. We can ask some questions and see if we can get you some answers and then send them on to Sally and them, and they can put the word out, if that's okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are there any further questions on this item? Okay, well, hearing none, then I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Sally.
Okay, before we get to the last item, Tim, we'll put you on the roster list. So is your email just thoffa@indot.in.gov?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we'll make sure you get added directly to the links for these meetings. And then the last item on the agenda is to tell you that I am ready to retire. I told the Plan Commission in August of 2019, actually, that I would give them a year to find a replacement, and they didn't do anything. And then COVID hit and they didn't do anything. So in August of 2019, August of 2020, I said, okay, let's get this show on the road. And so they did. And they hired an executive search firm, which did a national search. We had several applicants. It came down to one for an in-person interview after some virtual interviews, and he has been hired. His name is David Hittle, Hittle. He's currently the executive director in Johnson County, which is just south of Indianapolis. He worked for a number of years with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Development Department, and then the last 7 or so years in Johnson County as the director. I think he'll be really good, but he doesn't have any direct MPO or transportation background. His regular planning background is superb, but he starts on March 1st. We have a month's 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what's needed, of overlap and transition. So Tim and I will be filling him with as much transportation information as we can cram in that time period. So I think you'll like him a lot. He has a very calm demeanor. So just help him along, as I know you will. And I'll still be close at hand if anybody has any questions. I'm not going anywhere. So this would be my last meeting with you folks. It won't be my last meeting with our Plan Commission, but there it is.
Well, Sally, on behalf of the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, it's bittersweet in saying this, but we're going to miss you. But don't be a stranger. Say hi every once in a while.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Brian and I both like to come to Delphi to shop and eat and recreate. So we'll see you around.
Thank you for all you've done for us, Sally.
You're most welcome. It's been a pleasure. And it's bittersweet on this end too.
Yeah, Sally, thank you from the area plan perspective, and not only that, but the years I worked with you at NDOT. So
Yeah.
You've been a great help and you'll be missed. So enjoy your retirement.
Thanks. I think we will. Once we can travel again, I think it'll be even more fun.
Hopefully soon.
Yes. Good. Okay. Anything else from anybody that we didn't get on the agenda?
I
I just got one quick question. Are we going to have you heard anything else about Purdue Road School this year? I got an email a couple months ago and haven't got anything back since.
Yeah, I think, Tim, wasn't there a more recent email? It will be all virtual, as I recall, and it will be in March. Isn't that
Okay.
correct?
Yeah, that's the most recent one that I've seen.
Okay. Thank you.
I think if you go on the Purdue website and just Google 2021 Road School, you should be able to get to the link.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Sure. And the other thing, if you'll note on the back page of your agenda, under adjournment are the rest of the meeting dates for calendar year 2021. So if you'll make note of those, that would be helpful. And other than that, I'll take the last motion to adjourn.
wait. Did we want to ask about next door?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aria.
Okay, yes. So we are hoping, Cameron, to maybe get some next door information from you so that we can do some public engagement for the long-range transportation plan for Carroll County that we're preparing to work on here. Or if there are other methods of public involvement that Cameron, you or anyone else here maybe uses to interact with the public and solicit information, feedback. We'd
Or
appreciate that.
Delphi, if Delphi uses any particular platform.
We
Okay,
do not.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say the city at this point doesn't have a platform. It's been brought up in the past that we need to do something like that, but we just haven't got there yet.
Do any of you know if next door, that neighborhood kind of social media group has made it into Carroll County?
I've gotten
believe it
something in the mail, but I don't know what it, I didn't know exactly what it was. Honestly, I never heard of it. So to piggyback what Aaron said, we don't have a platform. I know we discussed it, Sally, right before all this happened.
Okay.
I think the day of that we all had our meeting in Lafayette. So that's something we're still working on too. And COVID surely didn't help that. So
No. Well, we'll nose around a bit. I don't know that local government would have to subscribe to Nextdoor. I think it's a private entity that does that. When we were searching for ways to do public involvement for our next long-range transportation plan, we did some survey work on setting goals for that plan. And we had, I think we put it out on Nextdoor, which covered, I think, pretty much all of Tippecanoe County, neighborhood by neighborhood. Then Facebook, right, Tim? And we had really good response from Nextdoor. So if we can find out, which we can probably nose around and do, whether that they're operating in Carroll County, that might be one method.
Yeah, so just to speak to that briefly, we did put it out on both Facebook and Nextdoor. So those were the two sites where we posted kind of a brief announcement and a link to the survey, which we had created through Google Forms, as well as we also worked with our Citizens Participation Committee, because there are several local organizations that also have websites and Facebook pages, and they were able to provide a link to our page that had this announcement and survey. So we kind of tried to just get out the word in as many ways as possible virtually with the pandemic, of course. our initial plan was to kind of do that work in concert with some in-person meetings or tables, display tables, I guess you would call them, at public events. But we had to nix that part of it for obvious reasons. So we were kind of left with just the virtual involvement. But like Sally said, we were very happy with the response rate. We got more than double of what I would have guessed at the start of the process from using these methods. So maybe if there are some active community organizations up there in Delphi that could help spread the word about this, I think that would give us some value in addition to looking at if Nextdoor is in Carroll County and that sort of thing. So I think that would be the way to go to try to replicate some of the success we've had down here in Tippecanoe County.
And other than that, we might rely on you folks for information about association groups or stakeholder groups that tend to be interested in, the future of the community, either the city or the towns or the county itself. But we can get back to that question. And if things get better, say by mid to late summer, then we could start potentially doing some in-person meetings up in your neck of the woods to get people directly involved. Okay, anything else that I've skipped over or forgotten? If not, then I'll take that last motion.
I move that we adjourn.
All right. We are so adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Take care, Sally.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sally. See you guys.
This conference is no longer being recorded.